Hey guys, welcome to another Star Wars The Old Republic free-to-play option ability guide. This one is for the Assault Specialist Commando. If you are trying to play the Assault Specialist Vanguard, there's another video for that. The purpose of this guide is to help you as a free-to-play player to make use of the 24 quick slots, that is the 2 quick slot bars you're provided for free, and be able to play your class to the fullest while only using those 2 quick slot bars. It is possible to spend a few dollars to add another one or more, and you can certainly do that. It would be helpful, but if you really want to play for free, this is a way that you can do it. You should not give up very much at all. As an Assault Specialist Commando, you can have every ability that you would ever need, and I'm going to tell you how right now. The first thing I want to note is this. At level 1, when you load up the game as a trooper, when you first created your character, you will have on your quick slot bars hammer shot, fortification, explosive round, recharge and reload, recharge cells, and quick travel. You're going to take fortification and quick travel off. Quick travel is a skill you do not need to be on your quick bar. You access it by pressing P, and it will load up your list of abilities, and you can access it from there when you need it. I access it that way. I do not have it on my quick bars as a subscriber. Many other people do not. It is a skill that you just use so infrequently, it takes 5 seconds to press P and access it from the menu. You just don't need to have it on your bar. Same thing for fortification, kind of. This one is a class buff. Every class has their own class buff, which gives a boost to certain stats. This one boosts your health pool, your HP, or hit points is the correct term. It lasts 60 minutes or until you die. Now, you really shouldn't be dying that much. It's not a game where you should die all the time, other than here or there if you're underleveled or something. But try not to be underleveled, right? That's the name of the game in an MMO. And fortification is a skill which, when you need to access it, when it runs out every 60 minutes, or when you die, so maybe you'll need to use this every half hour at the most, hopefully. Again, press P. You can click it in the ability menu. It'll activate it again, and you're set. You don't need to have this on your bar all the time. Another ability which you can you'll be using, but you don't need to have on your bar all the time. Heroic Moment. You'll get this at level 15. It is a skill which it provides extra survivability for a brief time when you have bit off more than you can chew. The thing is, it's not used that much. It is a 20-minute cooldown, so you can only use it once every 20 minutes anyway. And the way most people use it is just when there's a boss fight that they've had a real hard time with and the boss has killed them a couple times, and they say, enough of this. They bring in the Heroic Moment, and they figure out when it would be best to use it beforehand, and then they use it in that fight to hopefully try to win it. You can do the same thing. If you are leveling and there's a boss fight you're having a hard time with, you can go ahead and load up by pressing P your list of abilities, and just temporarily swap this one in for something else. By the time this happens, you'll understand your abilities more. You'll know which one you can take off for the time being. So use this Heroic Moment to try to win the fight, and then afterwards, take it off again. It's not something you need like 99% of the time, but you can always put it on the bar for that one brief time when you do need it. Another couple of abilities: Sprint, Combat Support Cell, Armor Piercing Cell, and Plasma Cell. These particular things are toggled abilities. Once you activate them, they're kind of always on. They don't need to be on your quick bar. So when you get Sprint at level 15, turn it on, and then it's set it and forget it. You can drag it off the bar. If you really need to get at it again, you press P, load up the list of skills, and you can access it from there. But you should not need this. It's just not necessary to have on your bar. It will be on anyways. And as for the cells, it's exactly the same thing. However, you're only going to be using Plasma Cell. Each cell is for each of the specs. This uses Combat Support Cell, Combat Medic does, Gunner uses High Armor Piercing Cell, and Assault Specialist uses Plasma Cell. So at level 4, you'll train Plasma Cell, you'll turn it on, and then you can take it off your bar, never to think of it again. It's on. And you don't have to train Armor Piercing Cell or Combat Support Cell unless you want to. But if you do train them, obviously take them off the bar. So, what are we going to do the rest of the way? How are you going to go about leveling up and using your bars effectively? Well, the way I'm going to tell you how to do it is this. As you level up, train everything your trainer gives you. Every single thing your trainer gives you, train it. And then, let it sit on your bar until your bar's full. And then when you need to make room for something else, go ahead and take off certain abilities. And I'm going to tell you which ones you can take off. Let me explain what I mean by giving you the first one. Explosive Round is this amazing ability at low levels. You're going to love it. It does a lot of damage. It knocks your enemies on the ground. It's cool. You get it at level 1. But once you're at level 20 or level 30 or more, you shouldn't be using this as a commando. It doesn't fit in with your spec, your Assault Specialist spec. It doesn't have anything to do with what you're supposed to be doing in terms of your spec, and it costs 3 ammo, which is kind of a lot of ammo, and you need to conserve your ammo so that you have more of it to use on your other abilities. So, Explosive Round, keep it on there. It will be useful to you at level 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, that kind of thing. But once you're up there and you've filled up your action slots with 24 abilities and you've got this new one from your trainer that you need to put on there, you can take Explosive Round off. You don't need it anymore. Another ability like this is Stock Strike. You should not ever use this as a commando. It is a melee ability, and you are ranged. You're trying to stay at range from things, not go up in their face and fight them. Stock Strike is for vanguards who are melee class. You're choosing to be a commando, so you will not need to use Stock Strike. Next, I'm going to suggest that you choose between either Pulse Cannon or Hail of Bolts. They're both AoEs. Pulse Cannon has a disadvantage of only being melee, which is not really ideal for a commando, but there will be circumstances where the enemies run up to you, and having area of effect damage will be useful. Having a single target damage in melee is not that helpful because you'll have better options to use against it, but having area of effect damage in melee when a bunch of them come up to you, it's not a bad idea. That's why I say take off Hail of Bolts. Hail of Bolts also costs 4 ammo. If you go using Hail of Bolts the way that you might be tempted to, you're going to run out of ammo real quick, and you'll just be spamming your hammer shot, which is free, over and over, and doing virtually no damage. I would say take Hail of Bolts off and leave Pulse Cannon, but you can swap it around, especially if you're able to use Hail of Bolts in a disciplined way. But one or the other should certainly come off. Finally, you're going to take off Diversion and Stealth Scan. Stealth Scan is for PvP. I am not aware of any PvE where you need Stealth Scan. Maybe there is in the high-end stuff that I'm not thinking of right now, but certainly for leveling and general stuff, there's no use for it. It detects stealthed units, stealthed enemies. And the only stealthed enemies you'll face in leveling are ones which are going to unstealth to attack you, and you're going to expect them to. As opposed to in PvP, where you're trying to find those stealth enemies, the opponents, so they can't get the jump on you. This is not necessary for leveling. And Diversion, similar. This is kind of good for, heroic quests and flashpoints and operations in the end game. It causes enemies to try to think about attacking other players instead of you. But in just everyday leveling, it's not something you should have a problem with. You should not have a concern of needing to use this. So you can pretty safely take it off. The last thing I'll tell you is not to train Blitz. It does not deserve your quick slot bar. It is not worth the cost of training it. I do not train this ability. See, this is a type of ability. Every class has one of these, which is usable only against it's only usable against weaker enemies. You can't use it against champion and elite enemies, and it's only usable on stunned enemies. The idea behind it is a high damage ability, but because you cannot use it against elite and champions, it's pretty useless. It also does not fit into your spec, and it doesn't like have anything to do with what you're doing as a commando. It also is melee. So again, it's like a stronger version of Stock Strike, which is only usable against stunned enemies and only the weak ones. So it's not something that you need to have on your bar. So that's that. If you do all that and take all those things off, and again, they'll be referenced in the text below, you should be in great shape to use your quick slot bars effectively, and you should have a couple of extra slots as a Assault Specialist, or at least you'll have the potential to have a couple of extra slots as an Assault Specialist Commando, because you have less skills that you need. One of the reasons for that is at level 40, you're going to do a trade. So this is the one other point. At level 40, you're going to get a skill called Assault Plastique. Now, all Assault Plastique is it is a stronger version of Sticky Grenade. It's exactly the same thing, just does a little bit more damage. As I recall, they also share a cooldown, which means if you use Assault Plastique, you cannot use Sticky Grenade until the 15 seconds have passed, in which case you'd be using Assault Plastique again anyway. So at level 40, when you get Assault Plastique, you're going to take Sticky Grenade off of your quick bar, and in its place, you're going to put Assault Plastique. All right, so let's go through and do a little build here. I've put together this build. It's a pretty standard Assault Specialist Commando build, nothing out of the ordinary. But I did think about the fact that you're free to play as I made it. So if I saw anything where I said this would be good for a free-to-play player to have, I chose that. I'm not going to really explain how it all works. You can read the stuff as you level up and think about how these things work and what they're doing. You can also, of course, look at guides for your class and things like that people have written about how to play Assault Specialist. I'm just trying to tell you something that I think will work for you, and especially as a free-to-play player, if there's any particular little intricacies that might be helpful to you, I put them in. So, at level 10, you'll get your first skill point when you choose to be a commando, which you will choose to do from the trainer on the fleet. Then you can, by either pressing K or clicking on a little skill tree button up here, get access to, basically, you'll see this little kind of interface. At level 10, you're going to put a point in target lock. Same thing with 11 and 12. And now see how it's full? It's all filled up. Level 13 and 14, you'll go into weapons calibrations. 15, 16, and 17, superheated plasma. Then sweltering heat, and then incendiary round. Incendiary round is an ability. It's an attack skill. It will go on your quick bar. Make sure it's on there. If it's not on there, press P, pull up the list of abilities, and drag it off of that list into your onto your quick bar. Next, we're going to go for high friction bolts, 1 and 2 points. And now I'm going to tell you to put 2 points into degauss. You could choose this instead because it increases your defense a little bit. That would be helpful as a free-to-play player. I picked it. It says reactive shield has a chance to remove all movement impairing effects when activated. You may not run into that many of these in leveling. This is really a very nice PvP skill. You could do either one of these. I just kind of put them in here. Upon thinking about it again, I might favor night vision scope, but either one will be okay. This will prove useful to you at some times in PvE in your leveling experience, and this one will as well. So go ahead now at level 25 and pick up Ionic Accelerator, 1, 2, and 3 points, and then 2 into Rapid Recharge. Now, if you watched my Vanguard video on the Assault Specialist, you'll remember that at this point, I started going into other trees. That's because for the Vanguard, once you're at this point in the tree, your entire spec is already set, and these are just kind of fluff added on top. And this skill down here for the Vanguard is like amazingly strong with what you already have. It's not true for the Commando. Everything you need is in this tree, so we're going to keep going up. So at level 30, we're going to take Rain of Fire, and at 31 and 32, and then we're going to go Assault Trooper, then 3 points into Burnout, 2 into adrenaline fueled, and assault plastique. Remember, put assault plastique on your bar in place of sticky grenade. All right, we have our entire spec basically, and now we're just going to put in a couple of little bonuses. So at level 41 and 42, we'd put a point into Havoc round, and then we go for iron sights to bring us up to level 45, then muzzle fluting, then special munitions, then 3 points in field training to bring us all the way up to level 50. And there you have it, the Gunnery Commando spec. Pretty standard spec, pretty much the way you want to see it as a Gunnery Commando. Be sure to check out the other videos about the other classes and how you can play those as a free-to-play player with the 2 quick slot bars. And otherwise, just be sure to look at the link below. It'll help you to have something to reference to be able to go through as you're playing without having to watch the video again. And I hope you have fun, and I hope it works out for you guys. Thanks.